All right, we're live.
All right.
I'm going to wait, like I always do, for one little person, a little eyeball to pop up on my screen there, and then I'll get talking.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess we don't want them to just sit there staring at us, staring at each other, huh? That's kind of weird. Huh. It,
Yeah.
it, it is kind of funny, man. I don't know if you run into this, but the amount I've had to learn, well, you already knew so much about technology, but the amount I've had to learn about technology to go from this being significantly part-time to a real thing is just like, it's like, wait a minute, what do you do for a living? I teach primitive skills. Wow.
Right.
What's your most valuable asset? Learning how to use the computer.
Right. We're some knuckle draggers trying to learn this technology. All right. Well, we got people jumping in, so I'm going to get going. For those of you that don't know me that joined, I've shared this all over the place. I am Jason from Colorado Mountain Man Survival. I'm the owner and operator of that, and then I also own and operate the Survival University. I function as Colorado Mountain Man Survival, and I created TSU, or the Survival University, to kind of work as an umbrella for all the guest instructors that I come in and have teach under my wing. Anyways, Aaron is one of my Colorado instructors. He's going to head up the children's program, or the kids program, that we have for this year. Aaron also owns Ready Set Adventure, and he has a bunch of other projects going on. His hands are in all sorts of little things. But what I want to show you today, before we get going with Aaron, his class can be found on my website. Here's his Ready Set Adventure, but I just want to show you, there's that TSU Kids. But if you go to the home page, you'll find this. You'll click on this little calendar here, and you're going to scroll down. These are all the adult classes, and there's that TSU Kids class. The ages are from 5 to 11. That's what this is kind of built around. But if you have kids that have never been out and they're older, and you want them to start at this beginner level class, they can start that. If they're younger and you feel they're responsible enough to hang out with older kids, they're more than welcome. This is just kind of a guideline more than a rule. Also, I have kids all the time that come out to some of the more advanced classes. By more advanced, I'm going to say more like the 3-day survival basic and the 5-day outdoor skills. Anything above that is probably going to be a little bit too advanced for younger kids. Hey, Kimber, thanks for joining. But I've had as young as 6 years old out to this 5-day and this 2-day class. Actually, you can see them in this photo right here. There's a couple of young guys right there. But anyways, kids are absolutely welcome to any of these classes. Just be aware that some of these other classes are more advanced. But if they're just beginning, or you want to get them introduced into this, TSU Kids 5 to 11, this is the only one scheduled right now for the year, but we're probably going to do some more. Anyways, enough talking. I don't want to make this about a sales pitch. I'm going to turn you over to Hutch. Hutch, please introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are, what you do, and what your plans are for TSU for the year.
All right. So my name is Hutch, obviously, survival instructor. Before we go any further, I posted a thing a few days ago. We'll reposted it. It was something a friend put up, and the whole question was, what's a small thing that you could do if you had been kidnapped and everyone would know you were kidnapped? And the funny thing was, your friends were supposed to fill it out for you. And almost all of my students and all of my friends said, if Hutch isn't wearing a comic book shirt, or if Hutch isn't wearing his Indiana Jones hat, we're coming for you, brother. We're coming for you. I have not been kidnapped. I'm safe. I'm in my home. The kids are upstairs. I can't fit the Indiana Jones hat on top of my microphone, and I got a super old computer. So now that everybody's sort of rested down the SWAT team, what I do for a living is, it's very similar to what Jason does. I teach survival skills. Actually, our stories aren't too different. I grew up, my mom was very young when she had me, so my grandparents were still working, which meant my great-grandparents did a lot of the babysitting, and then later on my grandparents. So for me, walking out to the wood pile and carving out a toy or something was just, it was just kind of normal. And I actually, I didn't realize what kind of a cool training, I guess you would call it, I had until later on in life, when I got in the higher levels of scouts in the Marine Corps, because I would meet these people with these incredible levels of training. We'd be talking about stuff, and I would just mention something little, and they like flint and steel or whatever, and they just weren't really sure what I was talking about. So for me, it's just kind of always been a lifetime thing. I don't remember ever getting interested in it. I always wanted to be some sort of Indiana Jones, Crocodile Dundee kind of guy. And then throughout my time in the Marine Corps, before I started finding out I had a really cool job. I was canine with special operations. I basically followed a dog around, and that allowed me to get more training, but it also put us in a lot of demonstrations. They'd send us out to I wasn't with the MPs, but they'd send us out to these detachments or like DARE or these big, anytime they wanted a big show, if they could get one of us. Obviously that changed after 9/11, but prior to that, and it put me in these situations where I got to start teaching kids. And I found out that I just, something about the way my brain works. I actually have autism, didn't learn that till I was later, but something about the way my brain works allows me to really connect some of these cool concepts that we might not always think of as kids concepts with younger kids or with people struggling with it. And it just kind of became something that I wanted to really delve into, to kind of spread the things that my grandfather had taught me and to make them available for everyone. And when I found out that like you could actually do it as a living, I thought, how cool is that? And then I started seeking out more people to make my skills better, or to just kind of see what they were doing and spread it. And that's sort of how Jason and I kind of got involved here. And one of my biggest things is just to let fun trump fear. Like, we might be teaching kids what to do when they're lost, but we don't want to scare them out of the woods, right? We want to make sure they're having a lot of fun and they're enjoying it out there. And that's kind of my teaching style. And that's what we're going to do today, which we might as well start with. One of the first things we're going to teach you is, it's very appropriate to what's going on right now with Corona. But it's not actually what I teach it for. When I was really little, I literally, my hat is not an Indiana Jones style hat. I don't know if you can read this, but it actually is a leftover replica prop. Every time they make one of the movies, they have to make like 300 or 400 hats because they get lost or they get dirty, and Indy's got to have a good, strong hat, right? And when the movies are over, they'll sell those to comic book stores and magic stores or whatever. And I loved that movie, and my grandpa bought me when I was little, and it kind of became just my good luck charm and my motivator, I guess. But because I wear that hat, he used to get so mad at me because I'd forget to wear proper winter headgear in the winter, and it'd be bedtime and I wouldn't have my beanie and I'd be cold. And one day he just pulled off his t-shirt and wrapped it around my head. He had learned to do this when he was younger. My grandfather had been a tracking guide and a mountain fireman, all kinds of things. Later on in Korea, he was a pilot. So he had these weird skills also. And he pulled off his t-shirt and he wrapped it around my head in what the old mountain firemen used to call an emergency smoke protector. And for me, it kept my head warm, which was awesome. I slept good. And it looked kind of like a ninja hat, which my grandpa, of course, hated. But it just kind of became my thing. So I call it my snow ninja. And I'm going to have to take the microphone off to show you how to do this. So I think Jason can split screen. He can give me thumbs up or thumbs down if you can't hear me at all. But I'm going to get as close as I can. I'm going to kind of yell a little bit so you can hear me. But basically what we're going to do is I'm going to pull my t-shirt off. If this was out in the wild and I was cold at night, or if I was trying to thermoregulate, whatever, I'd take my t-shirt layer off, and then I'd put my coat back on to keep my core warm. And then I'm going to start worrying about my head, because that's where we lose most of our heat, right? And then as an added bonus, this is a great way for anybody right now that wants to put a mask on their kid. Do not put any kind of safety mask on a kid 2 years or younger, okay? Even with everything going on. But if you decide to put a mask on a kid, this is a great way to mask them up, but not terrify them. They don't have to wear the surgical mask. They don't look like Hannibal Lecter or anything like that. They can just kind of let fun trump fear. So what we're going to do is, first, I'll walk you through it since the microphone's going to be an issue, then I'll show it to you. We would take off our shirt. Sorry, I don't own a single t-shirt that doesn't have comic book characters on it. We're going to pull it up above our nose, just the headpiece, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the part we would tuck in, pull that over the back of our head. Now, at this point in time, we'll put up a link, actually. They've done some research on what fabrics are good and what aren't good for what's going on right now. If you decide to use this as a mask, you could add something to this, or you could just have 2 layers of cotton, whichever you prefer. And then what you'll do, I'll just hold my hand like that when it's the add phase. Then you're going to pull the bottom up and just tie a square knot behind your head, and just follow me. And like I said, I normally use this for thermoregulation, but it's appropriate for what's going on. I'll try and speak while I'm doing it also. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you all right.
A little bit? Okay. So first things first, I'd have to take off my Indiana Jones hat, right? And I just put the neck hole over my ears. It is important to get over your ears. Sometimes your glasses will fog up. If that happens, you can just take them off for a second or two. And I want my arms to be sort of like little elephant ears. Okay, that's going to be important later. So they're just off to the side here. Okay. Now the next step is to reach behind my head to the part of the shirt that I would normally tuck in right above my butt. And I just pull that over my head here, like this, and put it wherever I'm comfortable. Remember, we'd normally be using this to hold the heat into our head because you lose most of your heat through your head, right? Now, if I wanted to, this is where I would add something for the coronavirus, right? But out in the field, I could stop here and tuck this into my coat or whatever to hold heat in, or I can get that extra layer by just taking the bottom here, folding that up over my nose, and now I just tie a square knot behind my head. And I've got the Snow Ninja rocking here. Okay.
That's great.
Now, if you're going out and you don't want to look like you're getting ready to rob the place, you can pull that down. And you've got all your protection. Okay. That's going to be great for all my friends in the survival community, the ones that like to pick on me because I don't have a beard. A lot of your masks, they're not covering your beards, right? And you got to remember, this was used by lumberjacks that volunteered for the fire departments and stuff. So it's going to cover your beard. And leaving the top on is something I do because it made me look like a ninja. And God, my grandpa hated that. But you had actually normally pull the top down like I did at the end because it was used for smoke inhalation and they don't want to be sweating too hard when they're out there. But what I really like about it is it allows me to keep my head warm, and then I can actually put my hat back on, which keeps the rain from getting in my eyes and my glasses. It keeps the snow off my head. The Indiana Jones hat is actually wool, so I've got that extra thermal regulation there. So it works really cool for me. And as someone that teaches skills for a living, it kind of works with my image. So I'll actually do this when I'm out teaching classes and all that. I will be honest with you, when I'm alone, a lot of times I just walk back to the truck and change hats. But anyway, I can't really see if we've got any questions on how that went. Did I go too fast? Could you ask?
No, you're good. I just want to add in there that if you don't have a shamog or for whatever reason you misplace your shamog and you're out in the desert or windy conditions or whatever, even us adults can use that t-shirt method to cover their faces for sand or wind or snow or sun or sunburn or whatever. So it's a great substitute for your shamog. Really kind of a great idea. Anybody can use that. You do have a question? Pop it up here. What age group is that Ready, Set, Adventure box good for?
That's a perfect question. So much like with the classes with the Survival University that we're teaching, we, because of insurance and everything, we put sort of an age range on it. But I've got stuff my 3-year-old can do that I could have never trusted my 19-year-old with. And there's stuff that my 5-year-old can do that my 3-year-old just shouldn't do. So what I like to do is I like to put a list of what the upcoming skills and things are. That way you can kind of look and see, is it an interest? Is it, am I as a parent ready to do this? I would say that they're pretty much perfect for anybody between age 5 and 14. And then I always try and have some what they call STEM and STEAM requirement stuff in there. A lot of our classes we teach are for schools, professional programs. So a lot of our friends are licensed teachers. And we started doing this because of the homeschooling. You know, so many people homeschool. And then obviously with so many people being forced to homeschool now because of the coronavirus, every box does have some STEM and STEAM things in there. Those are where the age thing kind of gets a little bit more specific. So I normally just put the age requirements of that item there because obviously if you've got a 5-year-old and it's that the game that's in there was aimed more at 12-year-olds, I want you to know that. But as far as the skills and the stuff that I teach are in there, they're pretty much broad spectrum. I'd say anyone 5 and older. And if you're having problems with it, I include every box comes with a bunch of videos and sort of online classes. If you reach out to me, I'll do an online tutorial like this with you, and we can definitely like I said, one of the skills I have, I think, one of the reasons Jason kind of let me be on the team is I'm really good at making that connection and figuring out a way to transfer the same data. I would teach this exact same skill to my guys in the special operations in the Marine Corps, and I would also teach it to my 3-year-old son. I just teach it very differently. And I'd say pretty much everything in the box is like that. I can't say anything below 5 simply because of my insurance. However, I will tell you, I've got 5 children. My youngest is 1. She doesn't get a box, but all the rest of the kids get a Ready Set Adventure box. And my age ranges from in diapers to in college. So I'm pretty comfortable everywhere. But for insurance purposes, everything in there is recommended for 5 years old and older. And that's just because, like the binoculars, okay? There just has to be someone there to remind the kid not to look at the sun with the binoculars. There's nothing in there inherently dangerous, but you know how that goes. Did that answer your question?
I think you did it good. But real quick, if anybody's hearing a weird echo from my speakers, let me know, and I'm going to put my headset on. Just put it in the comments, and I can fix that. But just real quick, he is on Facebook with a group. So if you guys are interested in asking questions directly about that Ready Set Adventure box, I put a link in the comments for his Facebook page. But just do a search for Ready Set Adventure box, and you can find his group, and you can sign up for it. But yeah, you do have another question. Do you have boxes for younger Boy Scouts, 12 to 14 years old?
Absolutely. And actually, I was kind of hoping. Things are kind of weird right now, right? I think they lifted the quarantine in your area, right, Jason?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the
down where the school is
lifted, and there's still some regulations, but yeah.
Okay. So for people that don't know, if you come out to our location to teach, we're in Teller County, and I was just noticing, because I've got some work I need to do out there, that they've lifted a lot of stuff there. I, however, live up in Golden by Denver, and we've still got things up there. So one of the things we were hoping to do is maybe get some boxes that would be geared specifically at some of the scouts and some of the merit badges. And those would be basically, you would get the same kind of classes that you get when you come out to us, but you would also get the items to go with them. I haven't done the first box like that right now, but that's one of those things that we're actually just talking about it either this morning or last night. And obviously we would start with more of the outdoorsy stuff. I mean, we're not going to teach something that neither of us has a specialty in, but they would be very geared at, I was thinking probably one of the coolest places to start would be with like the whittle and chip, and kind of take people through a very basic knife, how to sharpen the knife, and then have some really cool projects to do, stuff that we would teach there, or navigation. So those would be geared specifically towards scouts or any similar program. Otherwise, every Ready Set Adventure box, I'm using a lot of similar kind of distributors, and the scouting was huge to me. I mean, I never wanted to stop being a Boy Scout. That's how I ended up doing what I'm doing. And I just had a really cool grandpa that agreed with that. He got the old Wildwood Wisdom, and we went through the whole book together. So I would say every single box at its heart is aimed at scouts. The Backyard Camper actually has a few things in it that I originally saw in the Scout store here in Denver. It's got the I don't have one of them down with me, but it's got the Camper Knots game, which is really cool. Plus, it's a regular deck of playing cards if it rains on you. And then it's got a couple items in there that I would say are very much Boy Scout related, very much going to be appreciated by Boy and Girl Scouts out there. And then we kind of just try and put a little bit more of a backyard adventure spin on it. But at its heart, I would say every one of these boxes is secretly aimed at Boy Scouts. Let's see here. That would be awesome since Scouts are not meeting right now. Yeah. So check out the Backyard Camper on there. For, like I said, it's got some knots. It's all, and actually, you know what? Something you might get a real big kick out of. This is something I've been working on since I was at least a weebler or more. But there's a thing. It's free. It's on the Ready Set Adventure box. It's the single pole teepee, and it's a really cool way to give a scout a private space and sort of make them start thinking of their yard. Or if you have to do it inside, you can absolutely do it with filled up soda bottles or whatever for your tent stakes, and just tie it off to anything, and just get them start feeling like they're still at a scout jamboree. And for me, one of my most favorite memories was getting to train with Ron Hood at Boy Scout jamborees, and we're going to try and create something like that for the people stuck at home now. Like I said, definitely the camper is loosely based at that, but if there's an interest of that, one of the biggest things that drew me to Jason in the first place was his support of the Scouts. So if we could have something specific for your troop or something like that, even if it had to be, these live trainings are a little hard. I'd have to probably switch back and forth between live and pre-made videos just so you could see my hands. I mean, can you imagine trying to learn how to tie a complicated knot like this? I would really like to have you come in at like a point of view shot, but that is certainly something we can do. Either you can look at the boxes or you can talk to Jason and we can set up something like this where we basically come into the scouts' homes and do it individually for them. I don't know if that would be sort of an interest, or if you just want to get the boxes. I would say that the right now, so one of the people that trained me is Creek Stewart, also an Eagle Scout, also really big, and he's allowed me to include some of his items in my box too. So you might be interested in the what I call the modern primitive, but I would say for most of your scouts, that's going to be more like a reprieve from doing homework and stuff. It's more of a fun box. They get to make an arrowhead necklace and a 5-cut capote coat, and they're fun skills. But if they've been working on a Pioneer Merit Badge or anything like that, they're already going to be further down the road than that. But the backyard camp would be more appropriate. But honestly, I think the way to go with that situation is for us to just give you guys some specialized classes for what your specific troop is working on.
All right, good answer. So with today,
did I lose you?
No. Can you hear me?
You're on mute, brother.
No.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. So this is kind of an intro video into our idea and our plan of what we're going to do with these webinar videos. But we would like to come back here and meet at least once a week and do a specialized skill. Right now we're just kind of talking to you about what our plans are. We do have a video that we're going to show you. I haven't watched the full video, but Hutch is talking about tying some knots, doing an adventure bag, and we're going to show you that video here shortly. But if you have any requests for skills that we can show you for the age group of 4 to 12, somewhere in that age, just ask us, put it in the comments, and we'll work on that. And then the next week or a couple weeks down the road, we will do the same thing that we're doing right now and show you that skill. We're really trying to gear those kid videos to probably only run about 15 to 20 minutes long. We're not going to go an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours like I've been doing with some of the longer adult videos. But are you ready to go into that video, Hutch?
Yeah. And then am I gonna talk over it? Is that what we decided, or do you want to try and play it?
I can play it. Let's go ahead and play it through.
Okay.
You wanted me to start at the knot tying portion of this video, but I think I'm going to go ahead and start at the beginning. This is only a 4-minute video, but you can just kind of see Hutch's style a little bit, which I think is great for deciding if you'd like to bring your kids out to his classes. So I'm going to try and play this with sound. You're going to have to listen it through my speakers, so you might sound like you're in a cave a little bit, but let's go ahead and stop listening to me talk and play this.
Welcome, adventurers. It is Hutch again with Ready, Set, Adventure Box, and Scout and Haas are working on their No Knot emergency shelter, and Scout's gotten to a point where he really doesn't need my help with it anymore. So I thought this would be a great time to talk to you about the adventure bag. The adventure bag is something I actually learned a long time ago as sort of an emergency backpack, but over time I've started using it with wool blankets and such, and it's become, especially in 3-season weather, it's a great way to lighten your load and carry the gear that you need for camping. But in the city, you can make these out of handkerchiefs, or you can upscale them. You can customize your backpacks with different fabrics that suit you or your adventurous personality. This is what's known as the running end. It's what you use to do the work. And this is the standing end. You tie around that. This is called a bight. It just means the rope's not crossed itself yet. Now, we've just made an overhand loop, meaning that the red part, the running end, went over the standing part, around behind it, and through the hole. That's it. That's our overhand knot. Now let's tie a square knot. The red portion is in our right-handed, the blue in our left. Right over left. Now wrap it around behind. Now the red portion is the left, so left over right. That's what we say, right over left, left over right. That makes a square knot. The square knot will be used to secure the top of your bag. We'll see that again in a minute.
I'm going to show you how to make a strap. You could do this with another handkerchief, another shemagh, or even better yet, a blanket if you want to use it to sleep or have a picnic when you get where you go. Simply follow along with the folds. Make sure to keep that tip on the inside though, so your straps don't come undone. I stop my straps here because I carry a lot of weight, but if you're smaller, you may want to give it one more fold. Now remember, you can use blankets, shemaghs, nice soft pieces of rope. Just make sure you don't use rope that's too small or it'll cut into your shoulders. Basically, anything can be your straps. I always pick something that I can use later on in my adventure so I'm not carrying extra weight. Now, I like to pack the main part of my bag before I tie it, but here I folded an empty bag in half. I tie my square knot right over left, left over right, and that would secure everything inside of the bag. I can still pack it later if I want. And the next thing is just to add the straps. We do that by taking our rope or our cravat or our blanket, whatever. We go underneath the square knot. And now on both sides toward the bottom, we are going to tie an overhung knot with the bag portion going around the strap. That's it. Super simple, right? For big adventures, you can upscale just by using larger pieces of square cloth. Now you can load this bag up with stuff, and you can adjust the straps for comfort just by sliding this knot up and down to make sure it fits. So if you're really worried about it, this piece is adjustable. You can tie another knot right here so that it won't slide off if you're worried about it. But otherwise, this adjusts up and down for the perfect fit. I cannot wait to hear what kind of adventures you have with your adventure bag. Remember, try and make the bag out of stuff you're going to use on your adventure so you carry less weight. No matter what you're doing, even playing in the front yard, remember there's no such thing as a small adventure. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, and I can't wait till our next adventure.
Great video. I had a question, but I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. Oh, you can, like you mentioned in the video, you can scale that up. So if you, you just have a big wool blanket or something, and something happens to your backpack, you can use that to carry your gear or firewood or whatever. I think it's a really great idea.
Oh, it's really cool. Plus, this is a bag I've been using for a lot of my life. It kind of adapted for. I was stationed in Okinawa for a while, and Ferroshiki's really big over there. They use cloth for everything, and I started kind of playing with it. But I'd already loved the Roycroft pack, which obviously we teach and everything. And what I like about it is if you get a little adventure and you have them make the bag, those were actually, that was a video from the Race Adventure box bag. Instead of using those handkerchiefs I use just kind of for contrast and to show them playing in the backyard, you can make the bag out of your wool blankets and everything. And then when you get to your campsite, you don't have to be carrying a pad, or you just untie your bag, and now every ounce you're carrying works for you. So now you can lay down your wool blanket, and then you've got two pieces there, the straps and the bag. So you've got something to sleep on, something to sleep in. So especially for scouts working on like their Pioneer Merit Badge, their Survival Merit Badge, it's a blast, and you might be surprised. I mean, some of these old skills that Beard and Ellsworth and all those guys used, sometimes are a little bit more comfortable than some of the gear, at least that I can afford anyway.
I went ahead and dropped a link to that YouTube video in the chat. So if you're interested in watching that again to perfect making that bag, or you want to show it to your kids later on, it's out there now, so you can go check it out. Hutch, your YouTube channel, do you have a YouTube channel name?
Yeah, it's just, I think the Backyardsman or something like that. Let me see if I can.
Oh man, you got to know your YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, the problem is I'm so. Let me pull it up here real quick. I'm such an outdoors guy. This is all so new to me. So yeah, it's just the Backyardsman. Hopefully I didn't lose you while I was dinking around there.
No, you still got me. So go out and try to find that video. Give him a like. You do have your comments shut off on that video, so nobody can tell you how much they love it or hate it.
I have to turn that on.
Okay. So Dwight's got another comment here for you.
Okay. Awesome. We really appreciate that, Dwight. That'd be, and like I said, at my heart, I'll always forever be a scout, and that's what I always wanted. So as you can see in my style, it has a very, very scout. Like I said, even I hope I didn't scare you away from the modern primitive box. It's not really geared at a merit badge. It's just a lot of fun outdoor stuff. But even things like everything that you'll see in my style is on some level going to remind you of probably something you saw in one of your Boy Scout books at some point in time, because a lot of these things are things I learned younger, and then throughout, 3.5 decades, just kind of refined, because I actually do use those scout skills day in, day out. The adventure bag in particular isn't too different from, well, I don't think they have that merit badge anymore, but from something I learned way, way, way back when I was a scout.
All right. So, do you have any more to add about that video of making that bag?
No, I mean, unless anybody has any questions. With the bag, you can. It doesn't have a top. There's some other videos on the YouTube, and I'll get all those comments turned on, that show you how to put a top in it or to add extra stuff if you need to carry. Obviously, in winter here in Colorado, we're going to want to have at least one more blanket, if not upgrade the gear altogether. But if you want to waterproof it, with that single pull teepee video I was telling you about, it's a free tutorial that's on the site there. I also show you how to make oilcloth, which if you find the right fabric, I mean, shmogs are great and everything, but I really like to go to the fabric store and check out their remnants, because I can get any pattern I want. As you saw, the teepee is actually made from actually, it's right here. I've got this is an oilcloth, but the entire shelter is the Millennium Falcon. So my kids love that. We put up the Millennium Falcon teepee, and you always know, you can tell if we're camping. Come by, say hello. If you see something weird like that, it's probably me. But the oilcloth is great, because the one problem with the adventure bag is, if this is your bedding and you get caught in the rain, now all of your bedding is wet, right? And we all know the books tell us how well wool insulates and everything, and that's true. But when you're a young camper and you're trying to get your young adventurers interested, sleeping in wet wool is not fun. So if you are in a rainy place, I would recommend, even though I said it's great for using, your actual bedroll and everything, you might want to consider making oilcloth or something else. Or in an emergency situation, grab your SOL blanket or whatever emergency blanket company you prefer, or a poncho, tarp. It'll work with all of those things, and they're waterproof. So now our entire bedding or our capote coat or whatever insulation layer we were using, I would hate for it to be drenched when you got there.
I threw Hutch's email address he has out there through the Survival University. If you have any questions for him about scheduling groups, whether it be a Boy Scout group or a private group or a homeschool group or whatever you have for your kids out there, just shoot him an email and we'll work on getting your private group scheduled, or we'll open up a public group so that we can get you scheduled throughout the summer. Let me check that current class that we do have scheduled right now is June 13th and 14th of this year. If you're looking for another public group, just send me or Hutch an email. I'm Jason at the Surviving University. Hutch at the Surviving University. Send us an email and we'll work on getting another class out there. But we really want to try to get this guy full before we start booking a bunch of other classes. Otherwise, we'll be run ragged with 2 students at a class at once. It just makes things tough. Anyways, for our next session, the next webinar, we'll probably go into something a little bit more, I don't know. We'll decide what we're going to do for the next time around, but it'll probably be less talking, less advertising, and this all this, and we'll just show you the skill. We'll take on questions, and then we'll call it quits. So most of these kid-related videos are going to last 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, for the videos, you absolutely do not need the Ready Set Adventure box to do them. We started because I already had the videos prepped and stuff with them, and I think with everything going on, it's an appropriate and a fun skill to learn. But you don't feel for a second, like Jason said, it's not going to be an infomercial. It's going to be like 15 minutes of making an emergency whistle or a fun crossbow, like not dangerous, but for shooting at Skeletor or whatever, or concepts like that, stuff that we would teach in our kids search and rescue class or in our scout programs are I mean, nothing. I don't make any of the products from Ready Set Adventure Box, so I might be using a product here or there. It might just be a Silva compass, or it might be a specific whistle, but none of that is necessary to enjoy the classes. So please don't for a second think that you have to run out and join the box. We're doing these classes because we want to be a resource for you during this time. Now, don't get me wrong. I got to keep the lights on just like everybody else. So please buy 10, 20, 30 of the boxes, but don't feel like you're going to have something specific from the box to tune in. I might use something like, I know coming up we're going to teach a paper airplane launcher and some other really fun stuff from one of the merit badge pamphlets. I might use some special paper that has my logo on it or something. It's just because what I have, but you just got to walk around your house and grab any old piece of paper. There's nothing magic about the products I'm using.
Yeah, and if we're running these webinars, we're going to be showing you carving or paper airplane or something that you can participate. We'll let you know a supply list ahead of time, and you can do what we're doing and follow along. Dwight just suggested that we do some wilderness first aid. We can do that. I'm a little skeptical about teaching some advanced wilderness first aid tactics, so we'll probably keep it pretty basic. But absolutely, it's good skill for kids to know. I'm just not going to show them how to do a tourniquet. You're going to need to do that on your own. You could probably see some liability issues with that. But, bandaging and some basic first aid, absolutely. And we'll probably throw that in with some other things. My theory is with teaching your children, if you feel confident that they are mature enough to handle what we're teaching, then absolutely let them join. We'll teach stuff like fire making skills, basic knife skills, very skills that could probably get somebody in trouble if they aren't responsible. I really think these are skills that are necessary for children. That's why I encourage parents to bring their children out to class. Because if you're really ever in a survival situation, your kids are going to be right there with you, and you want them to know the skills and practice the skills with you, or at least to know what you expect out of them should anything go wrong.
Yeah. I think I kind of lost my train of thought earlier, but when I was talking about my tribe and all 5 of them, I think that's where I was going, is every kid is different, and you're going to know right away when you read the supply list or when you read the description. And I'll try and sort of bounce a little bit in the age groups, because I mean, we've got that teeter-totter of age, right? We've set a spectrum, but I'll try and make sure I'm bouncing back and forth, so it doesn't feel too little kitty or too older. But when you read the description, you'll know right away. If it's I got one kid that I can absolutely trust with a slingshot, and I got one kid that's not allowed to go near it because he's just too much like me. He's so curious, and he just wants to know what would happen if, and it's that if that gets him in trouble. So we'll have a little description on there that'll give you a pretty good idea, and you can gauge whether or not the age limit is appropriate for you.
Sounds good. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. If you have anything that you want us to teach, like I said earlier, make sure you drop it in the comments, and we'll see what we can do for you. You've got Hutch's email address. If you can't hit him, just hit me up through the Surviving University. I'm a lot easier to find, maybe, kind of, sort of. You got his Facebook page, his group page. Check him out there. Other than that, do you have anything else you want to add last minute?
No, just as we're doing this, let us know what we can do to make it better for you. If the point of views aren't helping, let us know. If you're having trouble seeing a certain thing, I have no problem. I mean, you might have to give us a little bit of time, but I have no problem trying to get you an extra video or something. I mean, I consider myself pretty blessed to get to do what I do, and especially to get to do it for a company like Jason. So, if there's something we can do to make it more valuable to you or to make it a better learning resource, I promise to never cry in front of you. Just tell me about it, and we'll fix it up for you.
Yeah, I think another thing we'll definitely go into is tying more knots. It's a very valuable skill to learn, as long as you learn the practical application to use that knot with. The figure 8 is a great knot, but if you don't know what to do with the figure 8, it's totally worthless. So anyways, we're done for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We will be back in here with Hutch to teach something else, and I will try to let you know a few days ahead of time what we're going to actually teach, so that you can prepare your list and join us. And this is recorded to Facebook and YouTube, so if you don't catch it live, you can come back and watch it again and again. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. I'll see you again next time.
Not kidnapped.